May Jesus Christ be praised, and onwards with Mary. Have a good and holy day, everyone. Dear children, in the sacred hearts of Jesus and Mary, and in the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph. Welcome back, dear listeners, to our delightfully enriched morning segment, Saints and Coffee. Today is Wednesday, the 19th of March, and the entire church is celebrating the solemnity of Saint Joseph, the most chaste spouse of the Blessed Virgin Mary, the putative father of Jesus and head of the Holy Family of Nazareth. Here is the classic image of Saint Joseph, highly contested in our days because he is depicted a bit elderly there. However, it is the image that has always prevailed over the centuries. I even have it as a bedside picture. Imagine, among the many possible options, as a bedside picture on my bed, at my house where I no longer stay. Practically, I've got it as a bedside image. Saint Joseph, precisely this image here, because even if it is old, it is the image that has established itself over the centuries. And you see that little hand of Jesus holding the big finger of Pope Joseph. Then over the centuries, especially in the second millennium, because until 1000 AD, practically, Saint Joseph did not have a certain veneration. First, Saint Bernard around 1000 will provide for it, and then the Franciscans, how many merits the Franciscan order has, including this, Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, Saint John of Capistrano, these itinerant Franciscan missionaries throughout medieval Italy who spread the devotion to Saint Joseph. However, this devotion to Saint Joseph exploded because God had ordained it so. In our times, particularly in what we call the modern age, popes like Leo XIII, who wrote the prayer to you, Blessed Joseph, and like Pope Pius IX, who even proclaimed him patron of the universal church, demonstrate these attentions. As in our days, this devotion to Saint Joseph was foreseen, a devotion that developed also thanks to the apparitions at Cotignac in France, about which we will speak. And it must be known that, for example, at Fatima, during the last apparition on the 13th of October 1916, Saint Joseph appeared to the three shepherd children. This is very important to mention, without finally forgetting the series of apparitions to 𝐤'Z𝐚 this Brazilian seer who died some time ago, to whom Saint Joseph appeared particularly, and whom the Madonna and Jesus asked to particularly venerate as devotion the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph, which we, as you know in the column, Saints and Coffee. Every day we invoke, best wishes to all those named Giuseppe. We have so many in the small community, Giuseppe, Giusy, Peppino, Beppe. So many names that unfortunately, as we clearly notice, are at risk of disappearing. Nowadays, the name Giuseppe is hardly given anymore practically, or it is given in a now minority manner. So best wishes to all of you who have the pride, the honor, and the grace to bear the name. Of the most chaste spouse of Saint Joseph, however, especially best wishes to all fathers. To all the fathers of the small remnant, best wishes and a round of applause of gratitude, whether living or deceased, for what they have done for the families and do for the children. May God bless you, fathers, and may Saint Joseph obtain for you from heaven. Many thanks to you and your families. I remind you that's why. See you this afternoon at 4 o'clock at Montretort Tower in Busalengo, Verona, for this festive day. I can't wait to meet you all. It's the last pre-Easter celebration for me and Brother Celestino. Well, since it is in a festive context, the liturgical vestment will be white. It is a moment of celebration and joy before I head back down to Sicily, passing through the central southern area. And so, it is the last meeting before Easter. I hope to see many of you, to wish you well, to shake your hand, to wish you an Easter full of joy and peace. Simultaneously, there will be the opportunity to confess, leave the opportunity to those who haven't done it for a long time. There will also be the opportunity to confess, as I was saying, for those who haven't done it for a long time. And then after the rosary, the singing of the litanies, the consecration to the Madonna, there is the consecration to Saint Joseph, followed by the solemn Holy Mass celebrated by me. I remind all of you, in case you missed it, that I have been reduced to the lay state by the Church of the so-called Pope Francis. So, I make it known. I say it now. I will say it later. We will display it on screen so that everyone knows how things stand. After Mass, we'll give out the bread. To the faithful present, the bread of Saint Joseph. The scapular of Carmel, we will bless the fathers, we will bless the workers. It's going to be an intense afternoon ahead of us. Don't miss this appointment. The entrance is free, and there is no need for a reservation. Last night, there was the live broadcast with the conclusion of the prologue of St. John. With all these saints we celebrate, it's easy to get confused. The Gospel of John, from my book, the first volume of commentary on the Gospel of John, the Eagles and the Sun, which you can also collect this afternoon. Ask at the office if you want. Yesterday, in the 10th episode, the 10th part, we finished discussing the prologue. Anyone who was unable to follow it can go to the playlist and find it available. She can listen to it. I thank everyone who sent me Father's Day wishes. Many arrived through me, even to Brother Celestino, and best wishes also to the other confreres of the Sodalizio, if I want to give Mary. This evening, on Wednesday, there is the first appointment that offers a unique glimpse into the liturgy that is presently being conducted by Father Ramon. Here is the post, share at 9 o'clock on the YouTube channel of Radio Domina Nostra. Do not miss it, as it happened last Wednesday with Don Enrico, who began the magisterium on the family. Next Wednesday, Brother Celestino will start the one on the commandments. So you are educated in faith, and we all grow together. I remind you to support the project. We have the seminar and the work of Tribassalege of the Little Tower to complete. I still cannot proceed in this direction because help is needed. Here, the IBAN is in the description. Then there's also the postal current account and the PayPal. May those who can help us, because there is a great need, at least to finish the seminar year, until June, with the seminar of the Holy Curé of Ars. I thank all of you who are making a great effort to help the project move forward, doing so with discretion and consistency in this commitment. To help with the seminar project, and to see if we might also assist with the work at the little Tabor situated over in Tribassalege, we stand ready to contribute. I also wanted to say thank you to all those who have signed up for the Perpetual Rosary. We are also trying, I announce this because it is important to know, to find a collaboration. Because dear Simona, the regional representative of Lombardy, all the work she undertakes, also due to her personal commitments, she cannot manage it, which is why I'm looking at this stage. Here, especially to organize the Easter celebrations for Father Johannes in Lombardy, someone who can collaborate with me directly. Regarding this, I remind you that Father Johannes will be in Lombardy from Palm Sunday to Easter Sunday, more or less between Milan and Bergamo, that Father Ramon, who will be the most active, will be for Maundy Thursday in Turin, for Good Friday in Asolo, in Veneto for Good Friday, and then he returns to Tuscany for the Easter Vigil and Easter Sunday. Father Pavel will be in Rome from Palm Sunday to Easter Sunday morning, and then on Easter Sunday afternoon in Naples. Don Enrico will conduct all his Easter celebrations in Puglia, while Brother Celestino and I will be in Sicily. Simultaneously, I would also like to remind you that the weekend is approaching, so I would like to point out that on Saturday we are in Osimo, in Ancona, and on Sunday, the third Sunday of Lent, in Tuscany, in Lucca. Do not miss these appointments, dear faithful of the March in Tuscany. The director now shows the posts. Here there, on Saturday, the 22nd of March in the Marche region, in Rente Osimo, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the next day, Sunday, the 23rd. In March, we are in Tuscany, in Lucca, for this event with the small remainder of Tuscany. Here it is. This is what was important to say. I'm sorry if you see the bed, but the room is small, and therefore I obviously couldn't remove the bed. It is absolutely essential that this is completely clear to everyone. It seems to me that I have said more or less almost everything. It seems I am forgetting something, but if I remember later, I'll let you know. It seems I mentioned that last night there was a catechesis on the prologue that you can find available. The situation in Syria is becoming increasingly dramatic. I wanted to talk about it today, even surpassing the topic of St. Joseph, but I have decided to postpone it until tomorrow morning. Let's all raise awareness, though. It's up to us, the small remaining few, also us, like the very few other entities, to talk about what is happening in Syria. I had carefully prepared a reflective piece, thoughtfully entitled, "They Massacre Them Amidst Our Silence," a title that I had composed with deep consideration. It is a title, "They Massacre Them in the Midst of Our Silence." In Syria, the civil war, which has been raging for months after President Assad's departure, is leading to what has the sinister taste of ethnic cleansing against Christians, a true genocide, without the West lifting a finger. In fact, in the media, on social media, it is not talked about at all. It's something, especially when compared to the insistence on Ukraine. Every day we are told about what is happening in Ukraine, but as for Syria, it is not talked about at all, while Christians there are in danger en masse, and many of them have already been killed. It is our duty not to let our guard down and commit ourselves to prayer. I find it scandalous that the so-called Holy See does not intervene more on this matter. Situation in Syria, it is now clear that that is not the Catholic Church. Evangelical, in the strict sense of the term, but it is only an area of politics that serves partisan interests, including economic ones, etc. We pray today as well on the feast of St. Joseph, children. I ask that we all pray, even in the rosary, personal, even impersonal rosary. We cultivate sensitivity for Syria. It is truly heartbreaking to witness this repeated, daily, and biennial insistence on Ukraine, accompanied by an almost total silence when it comes to Syria. It is difficult to find reliable sources that speak about what is happening in that Middle Eastern land. And everyone pursues their own interests. There is a whole interest in seeing how the story between Trump and Putin ends. It is understandable. As for the war in Ukraine, meanwhile Christians are being slaughtered there by Islamic militias. We have news that last 5th of March, precisely on Ash Wednesday, in Takia to be precise, some Alawiti attacked the forces linked to the new government of Ahmed al-Shara, with actual massacres. Then there's also this issue of Islamic terrorism, which resurfaces somewhere, this massacre. Al Jazeera, which needs no introduction, the Arab channel, as we know, international, has shown some interest, as has the BBC, the English-British one, according to which the neo-governmental armed forces allegedly carried out the clashes against the Christians, who are then unfortunately massacred. Moreover, with reports of 800 dead in just one day. But unfortunately, indeed, the figures appear to be rather imprecise, and quite possibly, they are underestimated rather than overestimated. For daughter, I thought about what I wanted to say before reflecting on St. Joseph, because the title of today's window, as you know, is St. Joseph and Fathers, because today is Father's Day. I would like to say a word on this, but first I remembered what I wanted to say. It has been years that we have known that the Madonna, Medjugorje, and the Gaspa, the Queen of Peace, has chosen Mirjana, as we say in Italy, one of the most beautiful and most beautiful of beauties, to make known and to duly announce the commencement of the 10 Secrets, a significant unveiling, which Father Livio has had the merit of discussing at length in a remarkably detailed manner on the now ultra-Bergoglian network, Radio Maria. We also know, and I believe it, that the Madonna told Mirjana that she would be called to spread through a priest she had to choose. She chose Father Pietro and appointed him. The start, the announcement of the secrets after a few days of good. And sometimes she had linked this to the fact that the Madonna told her that when she would no longer see her every day, she would still appear to her every year on the 18th of March, like yesterday, for Mirjana's birthday. So every year, this 18th of March, with the message, let's say, "It has been charged, and so have I." I have not fallen short of meeting this expectation, of patiently waiting for something truly significant. Until yesterday, it went on as usual, like every year. If you go and look at the message, I won't comment on it, naturally. Capisci quello che voglio dire? Soprattutto colpisce con l'approvazione ecclesiastica. Con l'approvazione ecclesiastica, cioè il vescovo, come sapete, il visitatore apostolico, scrive i messaggi, appare anche il 18 marzo. The thing, however, is very serious. Here's why. Or is it all a big bluff? Because, excuse me, how long should we wait? It is like when it is said that the Madonna asks to reveal the messages. She says they will soon be revealed. Yes, well, I can understand, but then if they are revealed in 100 years and concern the last one, why shouldn't the Madonna say, "Am I wrong?" to this generation? Next concerns the next generation. We, as they say in Rome, couldn't care less. In the meantime, we owe it to ourselves to live our lives, then the Madonna will know how to provide. Do you understand me? Do you agree? It must be a message that cannot be foreseen. The passage of 50 years, 60 years, beyond which another generation emerges. But what I would like to say instead is that I don't believe that I believe in the 10 secrets. I share the expectation that even a Father Livio, who however has been shipwrecked among the sirens like Ulysses, who however had the plugs, he instead removed the plugs from the call. Bergogliano, however, has the merit of keeping alive the expectation of the 10 secrets of Medjugorje. What would I like to tell you? What do I think? I think that it is not unknown to us that we are experiencing them. But do you want with the Bergoglian establishment? Understood? With Santa in the Vatican, with the false church of the devil foretold by prophecies, will they make you aware at some point of the start of the 10 secrets? Obviously not. If you ask a family in Latakia, Syria, who have neo-governmental pro-Islamic militants at their doorstep, it's clear that they will tell you we are living through the 10 secrets. Am I wrong? Oh, who looks out and sees from their own home in the Syrian village of Entroterra the child crucified with nails? Did you understand? One may or may not think that the 10 sigli exist. It depends on which part of the world we find ourselves in, dear children. Got it? I think we should intensify our prayers without speculating more than necessary, because ultimately what must happen will happen. Reveal God's plan. We are meditating Thursday evening the Apocalypse. The most important teaching is that history unfolds in the clash between good and evil, that there is an arena in play, there is an eschatological battle which, however, is foreseen by God even in the details. So what must we do? We must only pray, intensify our prayers, and resist. However, I do not rule out regarding this 18th of March that for the umpteenth time goes almost unnoticed. On the contrary, there is indeed the intention to make it harmless, inoffensive, which is, all things considered, the time of the 10 secrets. We are not experiencing it. It is now imminent. But I think that more than something makes me believe that the 10 secrets undoubtedly concern, perhaps especially, Satan in the Vatican, because there is no doubt about this, unspeakable stuff, because at Medjugorje, the Madonna is ashamed to say it, you understand? The Madonna in Medjugorje doesn't say it. In Medjugorje, the Madonna doesn't speak, she plays dumb, as we say locally. Is this ever possible? Is this ever possible? Does the Madonna never say what's happening? What is there in Rome? The wheeling and dealing, the intrigues, never just once, but he never says that. It's impossible. Personally, I think it's impossible. Then do you remember that in 2022 Bergoglio consecrated Russia? Why Medjugorje and the Madonna, who said she came to bring to completion what began in Fatima, did not say a single word about that? In short, dear children, be on your guard, turn to the right side, even if it's the minority, with respect to the official mainstream. All right then, that said, today's topic, St. Joseph and Dads. Today is Father's Day. Why Father's Day? It is a celebration that established itself more or less in the Middle Ages on the 19th of March, St. Joseph's Day, because the cult of St. Joseph had led to Father's Day. So in the past, however, Rather recently, it was on the 19th of March because the feast of Saint Joseph for centuries was on the 20th of July. My dad was devoted to Saint Joseph. I say this because it was the day when, well, my dad, then they pointed it out to me because I said, well, I was expecting a somewhat emblematic date for various reasons that I won't mention. I then calculated it. Well, it's the week after the Carmel, so that's already something. Then there were the days of preparation for the feast of Saint Christina. Then they contacted me to say, look, Don, the 20th of July for centuries has been the feast in the East of Saint Joseph. In many Eastern churches, for example in the Coptic calendar, the feast of Saint Joseph is on the 20th of July. Interesting this. In our country it's the 19th of March, Father's Day anyway. And it's Father's Day because Saint Joseph is the model for all fathers. The model for all fathers. For this reason, fathers must be able to take example from from Saint Joseph. Here, so today I would like to entertain you with a series of considerations regarding Saint Joseph, just as I present them to you. Then you see what they come up with. I will start with the apparition of Saint Joseph at Cotignac, little known. On Mount Bessalon in Cotignac in France, in the south, on the 7th of June, in 1670, for the Ligurians, and not only them, for the Piedmontese too, it is quite easy to reach Cotignac because it is on the Côte d'Azur. A young shepherd named Gaspard Ricard was grazing his sheep on a day of intense heat, extremely thirsty, and longing for water to refresh himself. He lay down on the ground, beneath the unyielding, scorching sun, and after a long, weary moment, during which the heat seemed almost unbearable, feeling the relentless burn of the day, and quite unexpectedly, a man of imposing stature appeared before him. Pointing to a rock, he said to him, I am Joseph. Move it, and you will drink. The stone was heavy. Later they will barely manage to lift it. Gaspard thought it was a joke, but the venerable old man, as the tales of the time say, repeats his order, moves the rock and drinks. Gaspard obeyed, moved the rock effortlessly, and discovered the fresh water that was beginning to flow. He drank greedily, but when he stood up he was alone. The old man was no longer there. That's all. As in the Gospel, writes the bishop, Saint Joseph was not very talkative. He did not say much in that apparition. Nothing simpler, nothing poorer than this intervention, which is, as far as I know, says the bishop, probably rightly so, the only apparition of this kind of Saint Joseph in the history of the Church. Sometimes he appeared, as we have recounted at Fatima, for example, the last apparition, but always together, always with his wife. He never goes alone, or with the child Jesus. Even today, there in Cotignac, there is this spring that was brought forth by Saint Joseph. The gatherings there are always considerable, especially organized by the very strong traditionalist Catholic communities in France. In 1673, a larger chapel was consecrated there, a historic landmark that has stood the test of time, and is the one you can see today when you visit. And then, let's say that for 2 centuries the place was rather abandoned until it was restored again, quite recently. From the 19th of March 2019, the community of Saint Joseph, spouse of the Virgin Mary, and the Sisters of the Mater Dei Institute have been located there. Here, this is to say that Saint Joseph also appeared. However, it seems very important to also refer to, and here is the second step, this that you see is precisely the place of the spring in Cotignac, with the not very large statue of Saint Joseph, where the spring is, and the Catholic faithful, when they want today, for example, they do it. Many go there to Cotignac to drink the water. Here's a striking image. I'm afraid I cannot provide a translation for this segment. I remain very close in Canada, which is, and they will be pleased that I say it, that we have the world's largest St. Joseph sanctuary in Montreal, Canada. I believe it is. And I would like to mention something. This you see here is the little chapel. Once again, you can see that in the background, there is Saint Joseph, where the spring he himself created to drink and receive graces has emerged. But let's finish with Cotignac now and go to Canada to honor the small American remnant we have. Today, on St. Joseph's Day, we cannot fail to mention the greatest sanctuary, dedicated to St. Joseph of the whole world. The so-called Oratory of St. Joseph of Mount Royal is not only the largest Catholic church in Canada, located at Mount Royal, but it is also the largest sanctuary in the world dedicated to St. Joseph. The sanctuary, imagine, has a length of 105 meters and a height of 97 meters. In a moment, we will show some photos of the sanctuary, both external and internal, from the ground to the cross located on the external dome. Think that it has an internal capacity of 10,000 faithful, imagine, of which 2,400 are seated. Saint André Bessette is the saint who founded this sanctuary. He began by burying medals in the ground, as I did at the Hail Mary, and then he built this sanctuary. The sanctuary was elevated to the rank of minor basilica in 1955. Here it is, look at that wonder, it is truly a masterpiece. I have always felt that sooner or later I will go to this sanctuary. I feel it, I have felt it for years that I will go there. On the 17th of October 2004, the basilica was consecrated by the Archbishop of Montreal, Cardinal Jean-Claude Turcotte, who initiated the celebrations for the centenary of the oratory. Here, this is one of the images, one point, of the sanctuary. And the founder of this sanctuary, the originator, was this saint I told you about, Saint André Bessette, the man known for the miracles of Montreal. Sickly, the scholar painstakingly built this enormous sanctuary. I cannot go into detail, but what I would like to tell you about this great sanctuary, the largest sanctuary dedicated to Saint Joseph, which is located in Canada, has achieved extraordinary results because in the end, he did many miracles, that saint. Well, having said that, let's move on to the third story of Saint Joseph. So Cotignac, Montreal in Canada, Cotignac in France, but now we move to Brazil to tell you how God, who wants this devotion for our days to Saint Joseph. At the beginning I told you that the devotion to Saint Joseph is mainly the work of modern pontiffs. In particular, I mentioned Leo XIII, who wrote the prayer to you, O blessed Joseph, which has something miraculous in it. I'm referring to the fact that it is quite a long prayer, which is easy to learn by heart. In a short time, one learns it, that prayer there. Evidently, there is something to you, or blessed Giuseppe, pressed by tribulation, etc. This prayer of Saint Joseph was written by Leo XIII himself. And then Pope Pius IX solemnly consecrated the church to Saint Joseph, proclaiming him as his cherished patron, universal of the Catholic Church. Saint Joseph was proclaimed, and then John Paul II dedicated a letter to him, the Redemptoris Custos. However, in Brazil, through a recently deceased seer whom many of you have probably known, perhaps even in person, God has established in the world the devotion to the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph. I'm talking about 𝐤'Zn in apparitions that were initially recognized by the Church, then denied, then recognized again. In short, you can imagine the current ecclesiastical Freemasonry, the Black Panther, how it did everything. Jesus and the Madonna have asked that by the will of God the Father, devotion to the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph be spread throughout the world, along with the gift of the scapular of the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph. This request was made in Sicily, because 𝐤'Zn is Brazilian, but then he traveled around the world, especially in Italy, where a center was also established. I do not know if this center is Bergoglian, I presume so, but I remember that 𝐤'Zn saw Bergogliano strangling him. He told it himself, I'm not making anything up. So imagine if in these apparitions they could have managed to have. Bernardo will recognize them as having. Imagine well then, and Jesus asked that the devotion to the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph be spread. I read something. 10th March 98 Jesus to 𝐤'Zn. I will decree that all men have devotion to the most chaste heart of my virginal father, Joseph. Those who honor him and his heart make me happy. Those who will devoutly honor this most wicked heart in this world shall have the certainty of receiving great glory in heaven, grace, which will not be granted to those who do not honor it, as I ask. The devout souls of my virginal father, Joseph. Interesting this title that Jesus gives, Virginal Father, because it is also given in Maria Valtorta to Saint Joseph, will benefit from the beatific vision of the Most Holy Trinity and will have a profound knowledge of God, a triune 3 times as much. And then Jesus, the Madonna, kindly urged that the recitation of the 7 creeds be continued for the sorrow of Saint Joseph. And he also asked for devotion with the scapular and the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph. In the heart of Saint Joseph, a cross is imprinted in the form of a wound, and the letter M, which represents the mystical union of Saint Joseph with Jesus and Mary, showing all his participation in the work of redemption, and thus associating himself with the sorrows of his most chaste heart to all his friends. The sufferings of Jesus and Mary. San Giuseppe himself said to Edson Glauber on the 8th of March 1998, "All those who will spread devotion to my heart and practice it with love and with the heart, they can be certain that their names are imprinted on it, like the cross of my Son." Jesus and the Virgin Mary. Mary's are imprinted in the form of wounds. Saint Joseph added, "Indeed, I know all who follow us." All this also applies to all priests who will have the grace to touch the hardest hearts and convert the most stubborn sinners. There is also the prayer that we will do today, brief, taught from heaven of consecration to the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph. If you'll allow, here's a quick preview. We shall recite it kneeling today in Trebetel. At Bustolengo, we shall recite the prayer I now present. Most chaste heart of Saint Joseph, protect and defend my family against all evil. Danger. Most chaste heart of Saint Joseph, spread over all humanity the graces and virtues of your most chaste heart. Saint Joseph, I truly entrust myself to you. I consecrate to you my soul and my body, my heart, and all of my life. Saint Joseph, defend the devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Immaculate Heart of Mary. With the graces of your most chaste heart, destroy the plans of Satan. Good the whole Holy Church, good the Pope. So here you can say, good the great prelate. It's the first time I do it. I am in Nemesis, but today is Saint Joseph's Day, and I know why I do it. This evening we will add the statement, well, the great prelate, the bishops and priests from all over the world, we entrust ourselves to you with love and trust, now and forever. Amen. Here, this is the prayer taught by heaven as a consecration that we will make to the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph. Therefore, regarding the great prelate, I would like to say that, as far as I am concerned, yesterday I received some urgings from the faithful of the small Venetian remnant, and I would just like to say here that one must follow the heart. Heart, as was said at the beginning, enough with the mind that stays there. Because as I was told, while the doctor thinks, the patient dies. Serve the heart as at the start. You believed me then. Those who believed and continue to believe me, well, let's invest in what others say, whoever they may be. And if they set you against God's plan and God's timing, why God? If we do not respect the times, it goes elsewhere. This little one, rest has served no purpose other than not throwing away the 𝐥'𝐿 and the sin promi. Got it? Be careful, because God goes beyond if one does not do what he says. He did it with the popes. He did it with John Paul II, who went beyond the Lord because he did not insert the word. Russia, shall we play too? Who cares what the world says? Today everyone is crazy. Let's include ourselves in the count. Today I had to say it. It's St. Joseph's feast. Well, now, however, I would like to indeed mention my book. So I am doing a review related to St. Joseph. This book, Here He Became Flesh, he is always available. You can take and collect it even this afternoon during the meetings. It is the story of the infancy angels. Therefore, for obvious reasons, it also talks about St. Joseph. In these few minutes that are still left, I would like to read you 2 things. One from this book of mine that I wrote a few years ago, and that is available. Many of you have it. It is part of the trilogy on birth, passion, and death, and resurrection of Jesus, that is, who became flesh. God moved to the end and rose again, and then I quote you. Maria Valtorta, I would like to read a passage to you. The death of Saint Joseph, because the 19th of March is considered precisely the day of the passing of Saint Joseph. That's what the office says, that's what the calendar says. It's the day when Saint Joseph ascended to heaven. Let's see how much time we have. I would like to begin with these two moments, which are the moment when Saint Joseph has to decide what to do about his wife when he discovers she is pregnant, and the moment when he dies. They seem to me to be the two main moments. Begin with the first. Read the text, it's in the Gospel, and we know nothing about death. Regarding this fascinating story, it is none other than Matthew, who skillfully recounts the events as they unfolded. Like so. Being his mother Mary, betrothed to Joseph, before they came to live together, found herself pregnant through the Holy Spirit. Joseph, her husband, who was righteous and did not want to disgrace her, decided to dismiss her quietly. While he was considering these things, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary, your wife, with you, for what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. This is the text, Matthew 1:18-20, which tells of the tribulation of Saint Joseph, who learns that Mary, his wife, is pregnant. What did he believe? Saint Joseph? Why repudiate her? Modernist theology, into which even priests have fallen like overripe pears. I cannot stand when they pray. Look, I remember in the seminary, for me, the Feast of Joseph was a trauma. Thank goodness for the 𝐓𝐿, a typical sweet that soothed me. Why go to the seminary, to the chapel, and listen to the rector or the bishop or the vicar general in turn, once even Ravasi came, telling us the tale that Saint Joseph doubts Mary? I couldn't bear to hear it even then. I couldn't bear to hear it said. How can one boy ever think? A single moment that Saint Joseph might have thought that, to put it crudely, as they make one think also. Some blasphemous films, the Madonna. Did she leave with another? Is it possible that Saint Joseph thinks that after being with Mary? Did he have many signs then? And so I will read you my book. And so, once and for all, but I've talked about it many times, let's understand what it is about. In Matthew, page 58, I'll read as time is short and I want to read to you. The transit of Saint Joseph specifies that Mary is found to be pregnant by the work of the Spirit. Before they went to live together, that is, before the move into the groom's house, because there was this phase during which the bride stayed for a suitable period. She was still living in her parents' house and finally then consummated the sexual relationship with her husband. Anyone could spot the signs of a sensational betrayal, but this is exactly what Saint Joseph thinks. The Greek verb 𝐼𝑛𝑒ρ ultimately means the formation of a new family. It is translated as living together. The sense of intimacy is also indicated when the opposite, in the sexual relationship, made his wife his own. Before this happens, Mary finds herself pregnant, says Matthew, by another. Joseph must dramatically come to terms with it. This is certainly so. Giuseppe must acknowledge that Maria is pregnant by another. But who is this other person? The fact is objective. Giuseppe can never pass it because his wife is pregnant. But by whose doing? The Torah, that is, the law, in this specific instance, decisively revealed that the adulteress was condemned to stoning, in accordance with its severe prescriptions, leaving no room for deviation. In other words, the woman who had been betrothed, and who, in that particular context, was found to be pregnant by another man, compelled her husband to seize her and lead her promptly to the public square, where he solemnly called on witnesses and declared, "Look, she's pregnant. Let us stone her with stones." Now the drama of Joseph enters the scene. And here I raise the question. Here I pose the radical question. Can Giuseppe really suspect Di Maria of having gone off with someone else to have sex? Because this is taught by the priests, and it's time they stopped it. Because it's an offense from the altar. He knows her well. Like with like, he breathed in the deep holiness of life, along with the enduring purity and angelic innocence. In short, Giuseppe was acquainted with Maria, but we are talking about Maria, the mother of the Lord. What then now stirs the heart of this man, suddenly catapulted into a world he does not expect? Maria is pregnant by another, but Joseph does not suspect that the another is with a lowercase a, but with a capital A, meaning here there is the miraculous intervention. Joseph is the first to widen his eyes. Joseph is the first whose heart trembles. Joseph is the first to understand, after the Madonna, that Yahweh is intervening. Eusebius of Caesarea, a father of the 3rd century, writes that he had come to know through the Holy Spirit that the Virgin's conception was of divine origin. It's the 3rd century. Now, Eusebius of Caesarea, he didn't just make this up, The idea was circulating, later lost with modernism, crude and blasphemous, that Joseph is inhabited by the Holy Spirit, that Mary's pregnancy is the work of God. And that is why he did not want to go forward, as he considered her more holy, so much so that he was allowed to live with her for a longer time. For this reason, the evangelist Eusebius of Caesarea, a father of the church, rightly says that he thought of dismissing her secretly. This was a violation of the law. But the Ravasi and other modernists who go around telling stories about a Joseph who suspects Mary pretend not to notice this, because it still violated the law, Joseph. So does he implement it or not? The act must be carried out as the law requires, not in secret, hidden away, you understand? He couldn't do it in secret. He had to stone her in front of everyone, not send her away secretly. Matteo highlights at this point that Giuseppe is 𝐼𝐻 in Greek, meaning a righteous man, the expression that more than any other, as we know, will characterize the identity of Saint Joseph for centuries. Forever he will remain, dear fathers, the ultimate example of righteousness. Now that his wife is pregnant, what should he do? Does he have to enforce the law or not? Who gives strength to grasp the weekend? The angel comes. Not to remove the suspicion that your wife has left with another man, but to remove the suspicion. You truly need to bypass the law and act with courage. I don't know if Matthew 19 meant not to accuse her publicly. There are 3 main reasons to understand why Saint Joseph does not want to accuse her publicly. First, compassion. Giuseppe feels compassion for his wife. Second, the sacred respect. Giuseppe sees God entering Maria's life, and like every good Jew, steps aside. It is the line we have always taken. Third, obedience. Giuseppe would be the inflexible enforcer of the Torah. Giuseppe, therefore, had this unique opportunity to take Maria, bring her to the square, and stone her. And then Matthew says he decides to dismiss her in secret. What does in secret mean? The adverb latra in Greek should be translated as such. And indeed, those who have studied Greek are well aware of its meaning, recognizing its subtle, yet markedly significant, hidden manner. The dramatic nature of the event is denounced. Maria is certainly at risk of being rejected and stoned. The life of the bride, have you ever thought about it, is now entirely in the hands of Giuseppe, who must decide how mysterious the actions of God are. Giuseppe must decide what to do. The exegetes, like Ramon Brown, translate that he decided to dismiss her in secret, which makes no sense, because if you dismiss her, you must stone her, not in secret. Sending her away in secret contravenes the law, so it makes no sense. The Greek text should be translated. He decided to dismiss her tactfully, with delicacy, which would indicate a way of acting gently. That is, Saint Joseph reached the certainty that there is the finger of God. The dream he has serves to confirm him in this truth. Saint Joseph understood that there is the action of God in a word. I reveal the in-depth analysis in my book, because I then address the conclusions. Saint Joseph clearly understood that God's mysterious work was actively unfolding in this situation, and as a result, he now intends to dismiss her with the utmost delicacy, demonstrating genuine tact, just as the ancient Greek text states. I mean, to indicate I am stepping aside, I'm not up to the task. It is an act of humility, not of suspicion. And this thesis of humility, and without any hint of suspicion, St. Jerome had already pointed it out. Then, as time passed, it sadly became lost, and consequently was no longer pursued. I feel obliged to consider it the right one, because indeed, Saint Joseph never doubted Mary's holiness. And now, to conclude within the established times, let's read from the first volume of Maria Valtorta, the Gospel as it was revealed to me, the other important moment, because there are several. There's the birth of Jesus, the only begotten, but a book dedicated to Saint Joseph would be needed. After the council, a theological branch, Josephology. Father Stefano de Fiores was convinced that something could be done. There is a theological branch, Josephology, 𝐸OSEPH in Latin. It is the study of Joseph, because indeed delving into the figure of Joseph solves many things. For example, the Davidic dynasty, the confirmation that the birth is virginal, because otherwise, without a doubt. Joseph, he couldn't act like an idiot, the fool of the moment, but he would have undoubtedly fired her otherwise, if he doesn't do it and wants to distance her tactfully and delicately, because he understands that there's the work there, etc. However, we pause at this moment, which is then the final moment. Saint Joseph is the patron of the Church, the patron of workers, the patron of fathers, the patron of the dying. Dying with the intercession of Saint Joseph. For this reason, we must always invoke him. Let's take a moment to read, then I'll skip to the very first part, simply because we are pressed for time. And here it is. Giuseppe is resting against many pillows. Valtorta described him. He is dying. The face clearly shows a livid pallor, lifeless eyes, a heaving chest, and the complete abandonment of the body. Many photos. Images, paintings of Saint Joseph on his deathbed. Maria places you at your window. Think of it as the motto between Giuseppe and Maria. She takes his wrinkled and livid hand with nails, rubs it, caresses it, kisses it, dries him with a small cloth. The sweat that makes shiny lines on the sunken temples, the tear that glazes over in the corner of the eye. She moistens his lips with a linen dipped in a liquid that seems like white wine. Jesus positions himself on the right, and with clear purpose, swiftly and carefully, lifts the body that sags. We cannot know exactly how old Saint Joseph was when he died, but he could not have remained alive to see his son persecuted. The Madonna did because she was immaculate and was ready, foreseen, for her co-redeeming participation in the fullness. And thus, the Madonna has been proclaimed, as we have often said, as co-redemptrix. Leave these pirates and barbarians of the Vatican alone. Let them be. Let's stick to tradition. The Madonna is co-redemptrix, clearly. Saint Joseph, no, he must die first or he wouldn't last. Anyway, Jesus sits to his right, so the Madonna on the left, Jesus on the right. It is holy death. And now be moved if you can. Gently caress the tender, weary forehead of the dying. Jesus is caressing his dad and tries to revive him. Maria cries quietly. Tears roll down her pale cheeks onto the deep blue dress and resemble shining sapphires. Giuseppe revives somewhat and looks intently at Jesus. He shakes his hand as if to say something and to draw divine strength from the contact in the final trial. Jesus bends down to that hand and kisses it. As far as I know, as far as I have read, and considering all that I have read in my lifetime, I have never come across anything like it. For this reason, Valtorta's work is simply divine, truly inspired. I have never found anywhere Jesus kissing the hand. This is the only time I find it. Kiss the hand of Saint Joseph. And as he does, Giuseppe smiles slightly. Then he turns to look for Maria and smiles at her too. Maria kneels by the bed, trying to smile, but she struggles and bows her head. Giuseppe places his hand on her head. How all this is, as I have often said, so human and at the same time so divine. He places his hand on her head with a chaste caress that seems like a blessing. The only sounds are the fluttering and cooing of doves, the rustling of leaves, a trickling of water from the room, and the breathing of the dying man. Jesus walks around the bed, takes a stool, and has Mary sit down, calling her still and only mother. Then he returns to his place and takes Joseph's hand in his own again. The scene is so real that I cry too, says Valtorta. This to him clearly, eh? Rarely does the 𝐵 say to cry out of emotion. Then Jesus, bending over the dying man, murmurs a psalm to him. Please protect me, my Lord, for in you I have truly placed my hope. I always keep the Lord before me. He is at my right hand. I cannot waver. You will not abandon my soul to the realm of the dead, nor will you allow your servant to see decay. You will make known to me the paths of life. You will fill me with joy with your presence. Giuseppe perks up completely, and with a more lively look, he smiles at Jesus and squeezes his fingers. Jesus responds with a smile to the smile and with a caress to the grasp, continuing gently bent over his putative father. How lovely are your fears, O Lord! My soul is consumed with longing for your courts. The sparrow also finds a home, while the swallow finds a nest for her young. I long for your altars, Lord. Blessed are those who dwell in your house. Blessed is the man who finds his strength in you. O God, turn your gaze and look upon the face of your anointed. Giuseppe, with a sob, looks at Jesus and makes the motion to speak as if to bless him, but he cannot. He is unable to speak. He understands, but his speech is hindered. He is, however, happy and looks at his Jesus with liveliness and trust. Jesus continues the Psalms, and he too, at a certain point, cries and adds, after finishing the reading of the Psalms, "Thank you, my Father, for me and for the mother. You have been a just Father to me, and I entrust the eternal to the care of his chapter and your ark. You were the blind torch for him and for the fruit of the womb. So much you had the guts of charity." And he said with a solemn tone, "Go in peace, Father. The widow will not be without help. The Lord has arranged so that she is not alone. Go peacefully to your rest, I tell you." Maria cries with her face bent over the blankets, stretched over Giuseppe's body as it cools. Jesus cools his comforts because his breathing becomes more labored and his gaze returns to clouding. Jesus resumes the Psalms I can't read for time, reading Psalm 90. The voice of Jesus. Let us read the conclusion. The voice, "Go before me," says Jesus to his Father, to tell the patriarchs that salvation is in the world and the kingdom of heaven. It'll soon be open to them. Go, Father, go, my blessing. May it accompany you. The voice of Jesus rose to reach the mind of Joseph, who is deep in the mists of death. The end is near. The old man wheezes laboriously. Maria caresses him. Jesus sits on the edge of the small bed and embraces and draws the dying man to himself, who collapses and passes away without a whisper. The scene is full of a solemn peace. Jesus gently lays the patriarch back down and embraces Mary, who had finally approached Jesus in the anguish that tormented her. Jesus gives Valtorta a message. I'm not reading it. However, instead, I would like to conclude with a provocation, which is the following. But is it ever possible, in your opinion, and no one even intends to intervene on this, because it seems that the supernatural frightens more than all the prayers? I don't know what it depends on. Is it reasonable to you that the one who was called the father of Jesus, because it emerges in the Gospels, is he not the son of the carpenter? Well then Jesus, San Giuseppe dies, and they buried him in Nazareth, presumably. Right? The tomb stood. Follow me? All right. Is it possible that after Jesus died and rose again and the first believing community was born, there was a total disinterest in this remarkable figure who was, but was not, the Father? One might say it was because it was the early days, But that's not true, because in Rome there is the skull of St. John the Baptist. And the tradition of celebrating the transfer of the head of St. John the Baptist, the one beheaded from the Holy Land, to Rome, is indeed observed. We have all the tombs, the relics, the heads, the bones of the apostles, St. Peter there in the Vatican, St. Andrew in Greece, St. Paul. How is it possible that there is nothing of St. Joseph? Is there no tomb? Who's Nazareth bound? I have been 5 times, they show you all the places. And then sometimes someone who is devoted to St. Joseph, because thank God, the devotion to St. Joseph is everywhere, then asks, but where is the tomb of St. Joseph? And each time the embarrassed guides do not know what to answer. They respond in the most obvious way. Over the centuries, all trace has been lost. No, it's not possible. This is absolutely unthinkable. How this also concerns the Apostle John. Of all the apostles, we have traces and relics. For the Apostle John, at most, the tomb and Ephesus are indicated. Nothing at all. Why? I'm not entirely sure if ... in the Old Testament. God takes Enoch and Elijah to heaven in body and soul. Why couldn't he have done it without having to ask for permission and without having to say it with special figures like Saint Joseph and Saint John? Because they were in different ways beside the Madonna. The Madonna therefore made them chaste, purified them, sanctified them, to make them ready to go to paradise, possibly even with their bodies. Will it be? I don't know. However, it is interesting that there are no relics of Saint Joseph. Well then, dear ones, dad, heartfelt best wishes. Becoming a dad is the most fun thing in this world, they say, right? Why? Why did I say that? Certainly, during a sexual relationship, a bit of fluid is produced. This is what we say. What is fatherhood for a male from a factual, physical point of view? Nothing. I wouldn't want it to be exactly this that influenced the idea that the mother does everything. Certainly, it's the poor woman who takes the seed, and then it's her business more often than not, isn't it? And this would raise the whole issue of responsible fatherhood and motherhood. As many times the Church has committed when there were popes, that is a textual relationship that does not foresee the use of contraceptives, because it is a mortal sin. But that equally helps the woman, the husband, helps the woman, the Church, helps the husband to remind the wife, who has her own times, has the cycle, the fertile period. I have never understood anything about those things, thank God. I know they are like machines, women, from the perspective of openness to life, and the poor husbands must adapt. Then in quotes, a child might, quote unquote, come along. It's not a tragedy. Actually, today I take the celebration as an opportunity to make an appeal and an invitation to all the young families of the little king, if there are any. Have children. We need children who will come towards us for tomorrow, being priests, nuns, and consecrated lay people who save the Church. Today it is a call, woe to you if you do not bring them into the world. But we have 4, a 5th, we have 3, a 4th, we have 1, a 2nd. Try at least. Then if God doesn't want it, it doesn't happen, all right? Here, however, the father is not someone I believe in isolating myself. The father does not participate except for the emission of sperm. That's it. Then the father does nothing else, physically. Then the woman, regarding responsible motherhood and fatherhood, carries the child in her womb, and then resentments arise. Many times we priests know these things, the father of my children, but look at your husband, miserable woman. I can't stand hearing it. I'd strangle them. No, it annoys me to death. I can't bear to hear the phrase, the father of my children. He's not the father of your children, he's your husband, and therefore the father of your children. But who is the brother, the father of my children? It is an offense. There are resentments, because that woman there did not want to unite that time, and then she became pregnant. And then the husband, because he had to have the carnal union. Because in the husband the carnal drive is stronger. He had his way, and the woman carries this wound inside and cannot bear it for her entire life. Then, she doesn't show it to him, but that's how it is. All right, dear wives, break time point, forgive your husbands. They have the right to have you sexually. It is their right. Are you married? Sort yourselves. What should I say? Certainly a certain level of responsibility is required, but be cautious of mystical escapes, unless there are valid elements to consider, that marriage null, that there is no love, because there is no love that stops the marriage. Sorry. What? A marriage is imprisonment. There must be love. Join your husbands when they decide if they do not violate you. Yes, the contrary proof if they are requesting something that is rightful, unless, I repeat, it also leads to marital chastity. They seem marginal to us. Priests, we didn't realize these were crucial. The husband has the right to have his own wife, but I would like to say that this is a dynamic which the couple must indeed experience without ever giving rise to resentments in any form, etc. However, then, and I conclude, the father easily becomes, but can then assume fatherhood. It's the dad, the very symbol of familial duty, who often faces criticism for his family, criticism that many might not fully understand, and who also provides steadfast support for the children. He is the one who willingly goes to work, a daily commitment to his responsibilities, and actively seeks employment, with genuine resolve to help support his loved ones. How many dads can we count? Any irresponsible ones? Here, yes, dear wives, you are right. I have known women in my parishes who are warriors, heroines. The husband who goes to withdraw his salary goes to gamble it away at the slot machines. Wretches, cowards. There's a daughter at home, and the mother doesn't know what to do. Desperate, she comes to the parish. Father, what should I do? And then they mortify themselves. It's not that I don't know the power, but let me tell this from time to time. Then maybe I would withdraw and give here. Take this. But do it secretly. Yes, Father, I know I have to do it secretly, because if it's not the husband, even those who snatch it to go drinking. Got it? Maria and fathers who are responsible, immature, who remain children forever. But instead, how many responsible fathers are there, who love their children, who sacrifice for them, just as Saint Joseph did for the child Jesus? To these fathers, many best wishes and many thanks, whether living or deceased. Convert, the rest of you. There is always time, so that you may be serious, dignified, and learn from Saint Joseph to be fathers, as God commands.